Good morning and welcome to Gentle Vinyasa. Today we're doing a legs up the wall class, probably the most requested, but it's been difficult to do this class because of our restrictions in the studio. But today we're able to space everyone out. So if you're at home, you're going to find some free wall space. You're going to set up your yoga mat like so with the skinny or narrow edge into the wall. And then you're going to sit sideways with your hip into the wall and then swing your legs up. So, the thing with legs up the wall is that we have to allow for any tightness in our hamstrings. So, sometimes you can't be right up against the wall, or sometimes you need to bend your knees a little bit, and that's completely fine. We're going to close the eyes and then encourage your legs to get heavy. Sometimes it's helpful to picture a sandbag on your feet, very gently coaxing your legs and your hips down into the ground. Let the back of the head and the length of the spine soften into the ground. Let the pelvis get heavy, and again, the legs are getting heavy as well. Perhaps gently tucking the shoulder blades underneath your body too, letting the hands turn up toward the ceiling. And then start to tune into the rhythm of your breath, using your breath as your guide into a deep state of relaxation and centering and grounding. Breathing slowly into the nose, letting the breath expand the belly, and exhaling even slower. Allow the muscles of the face to soften. Loosen the tight muscles of the jaw by gently bringing the teeth apart. Reading this morning from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, and this one is called Looking Away. It begins with a quote from June Singer. In exchange for the promise of security, many people put a barrier between themselves and the adventures and consciousness that could put a whole new light on their personal lives. The pull into the truth of things is very strong. Often the only way to resist it is to deny what we are seeing, to pretend our lives do not have to grow or change. Yet when we do this, our spirit, which doesn't know how to pretend, keeps moving. For as the Isa Upanishad says, the spirit is swifter than the mind. We are then painfully like a dog at the end of its leash, staked and running at the same time, pretending we don't know any better. Interestingly, we tend to think of ignorance as an innocent not knowing, but the Buddhist teacher Chogyam Trungpa points out that to ignore someone or something is a willful looking away, a grave act of denying what is already conscious. Trungpa suggests that the willful act of looking away is a crime against the essence of things that costs us dearly. When we find our spirit on the move, when we are pretending otherwise, the tension can be ripping. It leaves us all with the need to learn how to discern between an innocent not knowing and a willful looking away. This is an inner knowing that can determine whether we will live like a dog at the end of its leash, or whether we will run free through the grasses of life. In these quiet moments of centering at the start of class and shavasana at the end of class, when we breathe slowly, we occasionally will get a glance of our spirit, feeling something deep within you, feeling your place in the world, feeling a quiet contentment. As the hamstrings begin to release, you can see if perhaps you can bring yourself a little bit closer to the wall. It's not a graceful movement, a lot of rocking back and forth. Just take a peek and see if this works for you or not. Legs up the wall is a deeply restful pose. It's restorative in nature as we draw the blood from the legs, from the lower extremities, back to the heart using the force of gravity. It's wonderful for circulation, for the lymphatic system, for the cardiovascular system. Let's start to take our legs into a wide angle now, sliding one heel at a time out to the side. So you'll find beautiful inner thigh stretch, the weight of the legs taking you only as far as you need to go here. If you find your heels kind of slipping a couple millimeters at a time, and if this doesn't feel comfortable to you, flex your ankles a little bit, and this should help to anchor the heels to the wall a little bit more. Keep the breath slow and steady here. Let's check in with the upper body, making sure the arms are laying heavily on the ground. Shoulders are rolling back towards the earth and not lifting away. So again, you can bring those shoulder blades underneath you. Maybe tucking the chin just a fraction so that we're not straining the front of the neck, but rather stretching the back of it and relaxing the jaw and the face again. Let's start to slide the heels back together, coming back to legs up the wall. And then here we're going to move into bound angle pose. Bringing the soles of the feet together, sliding the heels down toward the groin, knees moving out wide. You can keep your arms where they are, or if you like to place your hands on your thighs and gently press the legs toward the wall, you might get a little bit of a deeper stretch, but don't overdo this. We are still in a restorative type of practice, so we don't want to be doing any strong movements or strong pushing. And beginning now to slide the legs up the wall again. This time we're going to flex the ankles a little bit so that we're adding a little bit more activity to the legs. Now, everyone is different, but notice if the backs of your legs are actually touching the wall. Notice which parts are, if they are at all, and they don't have to. Everyone's anatomy is different. And then we're going to start to slide our heels apart again, moving into that wide angle. And then once you get about as far as you can go, you're going to place your feet flat on the wall. So imagine a sort of a hybrid of happy baby pose. So soles of the feet, instead of being up toward the ceiling, are on the wall. The great thing about doing these wall poses is that there's very little strain on the lumbar spine or on the spine at all. We're accessing the hip muscles and the tissues around the hip joints without any strain on the back. Just a few more deep breaths here. And let's start to walk the feet back up. Take your time here if the hips are a little bit stiff. Back to legs up the wall. And then here, we're going to take our arms further away from the body, maybe up to shoulder height, palms turning down so that we have a little bit more support and balance. We're going to move into a twist. So you're going to start by sliding your left leg out to the side, maybe about a 45-degree angle, and then bring the right leg toward the left, and then the left down again, and then the right, maybe coming all the way over so that the legs are resting on the ground, one on top of the other. This might be a bit of a deeper twist than you're used to, so if your right shoulder comes away from the ground, don't worry too much about it. I'm going to focus here on really loosening and relaxing the body as much as we can. Again, this can be a deep twist for some. We're channeling that deep, long breath. Over time, you might notice the shoulder coming down to the ground and a little bit more space opening up through the waistline and rib cage. And traditionally, in a twist, we turn our head in the opposite direction. So if that's okay for your neck, you can try turning your head to the right, but if it's too much, then just keep it at center. Let's do the next several breaths with an intentional expansion through the rib cage. So inhaling, sending the breath into the side ribs, especially, but front and back as well. Feeling the whole torso expand and exhaling slowly. We'll do several like this, and then we'll move to the other side. And one more breath in, letting that breath go, and then taking the right leg up as far as you can. Maybe even finding a 90-degree angle. Let's hold here for a moment. And then bring the left leg up as well. Find your center here. Take a couple of breaths in and out. And then we'll begin the journey to the other side. So again, you can slide the right leg down a little bit and then the left, however this works best for you, until the legs come all the way down. Again, the left shoulder this time might pop away from the ground. Don't worry too much about it. It will release over time. Doing our best to relax every part of the body. So feel free to scan around, notice what feels tense, and see if you can soften it. And maybe turning the head to the left a little bit or all the way if that works for you. And then the last several breaths here, you're breathing with intention into the rib cage. Take one more breath in, letting that breath go. And then begin to slide just the left leg up the wall. See if you can find a 90-degree angle or as close as you can get to that. Holding here. And then slide the right leg up to meet the left. And then let's bend the knees. We're going to slide the feet down the wall, bringing the knees toward the chest. Just holding here. And then from here, you're going to slide your left leg up the wall. And then see if you can cross your right ankle over your thigh. If the foot really can't come down to that spot, and we may all need to do this, you're going to place your feet on the wall and you're going to just kind of scoot yourself away, maybe an inch or two. So pigeon pose at the wall can be quite challenging. All right, so let's try that again. You're going to cross your right ankle over your left thigh and then slide your left foot down the wall. We want the ankle right over the thigh. And again, slide yourself away from the wall if you need to. Left foot will be flat on the wall. Right foot pointing out to the left side. This is similar to when we're laying down and we kind of interlace our fingers behind the thigh. Now, although our poses using the wall take it easy on the lower spine, they certainly highlight any tension in the hips and legs because there's just nowhere to go. Once you get into that stretch, you're holding it there, applying that gentle tension. It really helps to pinpoint what we're working on. And let's start to come out of the pose, sliding that left leg up, uncrossing. And then we'll go to the other side. So cross the other ankle over the thigh, and then place your foot on the wall, slide it down. Now you'll notice a difference between your right and left sides. For me personally, I have to inch away from the wall here because my left side is not happy today.
Does your foot on top have to be touching the wall? Do they both have to be touching the wall?
No, just the one that's underneath. So the leg that's closest to you, yeah, the foot points in this case towards me. Yeah, you got it. That looks perfect. And let's start to slide that leg up the wall, uncrossing. And then tuck the knees back to the chest again, roll to one side, and we're just going to rest here for a moment. And slowly making your way up to a seat and just being cautious. All the blood pooling in the upper body. You don't want to get too dizzy. All right. Let's kind of fix my hair here. So let's grab our bolster. We're going to sit on the bolster with our back toward the wall, but not right up against the wall. So let me show you what we're going to do. So you're going to set yourself up, and this might take a little trial and error, so that when you're sitting on your bolster, you're able to reach your arm behind you, placing your palm flat on the wall with the arm fairly straight. You're going to be in a twist, but with a shoulder stretch. So we're going to reach the right arm back. Left hand can rest over the right knee. If you feel like you're kind of leaning away from the wall, you may need to be a little bit further away. So we want to keep our head in neutral here. So we don't want the head in any way leaning right or left. This is not an easy pose if you have any sort of shoulder tension. Take a big breath in, and then as you exhale, imagine your right shoulder blade sliding down your back so your shoulder releases away from your ear. Right, taking one more breath in. And as you exhale, release away from the wall. Come back to center. Pause here. Just let everything sort of sink into the body. And then we can go the other way. So again, trial and error first. See if you can bring that hand onto the wall. Your arms might be different lengths. Maybe you need to be closer or further away. Right hand will come to the opposite knee. I'm going to try to have that arm straight if possible, and the wrist just about in line with the shoulder. And you're going to take a big breath in. As you exhale, slide your shoulder blade down your back just a little bit. So we'll free that shoulder away from the ear. And let's take a big breath in. As you exhale, peel your hand away from the wall. Bring yourself back to center. Sitting tall here for a moment. Then we're going to make our way to tabletop. So you can either bring your hands to the mat and roll over your legs and come to tabletop, and then just roll that bolster out of the way. Or get there in any way that works for you. If you need to prop up your knees, get your cut up yoga mats ready here. All right, a little bit of spinal flexion. Inhale, lift the tail, lift the gaze, moving slowly. Exhale, rounding the spine, tucking the tail, tucking the chin, maybe tucking the toes as well. And inhale, looking forward. Keep working at your own pace. Try to match the movement to the pace of your breathing. And let's finish with a cat pose. And then make your way to child's pose. Take your knees wide, bring the toes together, sit back over the heels, and then release the upper body to the mat. And with the breath in, lift yourself up. Make your way to downward facing dog, walking the feet on the spot. And then walk your feet toward your hands. We're going to find a little forward fold. And then with a slow breath in, come all the way up. Stretch your arms overhead. Interlace your fingers. We're going to find a little side bend. And the other way. Come back to center. Lower your arms to shoulder height. Soften your knees. Reach the arms out in front of you, stretching the upper back. Chin dropping toward the chest. And then release. Come all the way up. All right, let's move the bolster out of the way if it's still there. We're going to turn and face the wall. And we're going to do downward dog at the wall. So we're placing our palms just about shoulder height, shoulder width apart, spreading the fingers wide. And then you're going to walk your feet back, move your hands down the wall, walk your feet back, reach your hips back, and then find a comfortable spot for those hands. So imagine that you're making a square shape with your body. So the two sides of the square are your upper body and lower body, and the other two sides are the wall and the floor. Kathy, maybe a small step toward the wall. Yeah, that looks perfect there. Knees can soften here if you're feeling too much hamstring stretch, but at just about 90 degrees, you should be okay here. Try to bring your head in line with your spine, so the head is not drooping between your elbows, but is almost stuck right in between them. Breathing deeply and slowly. Beautiful. And then lift your gaze to the wall. Step your left foot forward, bend that left knee, and then see if you need to step your right foot back at all. So we're in a lunging step now. You can either have your fingertips at the wall or your palms, whatever feels best for you. Try to keep the chest lifted a little bit here. Now we're not straining the lower back. Deep stretch for that right calf. And then from here, we're going to start to straighten out the left leg. So both legs will now be straight, and we're going to start to walk the hands down the wall. Find a spot that works for you. For some people, you'll be able to bring your hands all the way down to the mat. If that's you, that's great. If not, just stay where you feel comfortable. Think about drawing the left hip crease slightly back. And then with the breath in, begin to lift up, bending the left knee, coming all the way up. And we're going to step slightly away from the wall here. We're going to do some wrist circles. That's a lot of wrist work here. Let's loosen them up, circling them the other way. And then grab one wrist, give it a couple of squeezes. Do the same for the other wrist. Awesome. And then we come back to down dog at the wall. So starting with hands flat, about shoulder height or lower, shoulder width apart or wider, and then start to walk yourself back and then walk the hands back. So making your way into that square shape. You guys look good. Yeah. So if you want your arms a little bit straighter, you can step further back and reach your hips back, but yeah, that looks perfect. Carolyn, maybe one little step back. Yeah. And then try to keep your head lined up with your spine. And then from here, lift your gaze to the wall, step your right foot forward and bend the knee, and then figure out if you want your left foot further back or not, just as long as you're feeling that stretch in your calf muscle. Lift the chest a little bit so we're not folding too much up the waist. And then start to straighten out that right leg. Walk your hands down the wall. Find a comfortable spot here. And then think about pulling the right hip crease slightly back. And with a breath in, walk the hands up the wall, soften the knees, or the knee rather, and step all the way back. And then step away from the wall. Let's do some shoulder circles. And the other way. Perfect. And then we're going to grab a blanket to sit on. And we're going to place it right up against the wall. If your hips are really tight, you might want to fold it into a smaller rectangle. If they're not super tight, then a larger rectangle. your back right up into the wall, cross your legs, walk the feet a little bit to the outside of the mat or the outer edges, and then walk the feet slightly forward. So we're moving into our forward fold with folded legs or square pose, as it's sometimes called. So let's begin just by pressing the back of the head and the back into the wall, feeling that tall spine, maybe walking the shoulder blades back behind you. Gentle stretch for the chest here. And take a big breath in. As you exhale, bring yourself away from the wall, hands onto the mat, and walk forward. Now, if your back is not touching the wall at all, it's really not a huge deal. That was just a little bit more for the setup. So walking your hands forward, letting your upper body release over the legs as best you can. Maybe swaying back and forth a few times. And then finding a bit of stillness. And then with a breath in, walk yourself all the way back up. Switch up your legs. Bring the other leg in front. And then lean back against the wall. Bring the shoulder blades back. And then take a big breath in. And as you exhale, start to fold forward. Walk your hands up the mat. Maybe swing side to side a few times, and then finding some stillness. And with a breath in, walking yourself all the way up. Let's stretch the legs out. Bring your back right up against the wall. Again, roll the shoulder blades back. And then flex the ankles a little bit. Bring your hands down to your sides, just resting your fingertips there. A few more breaths here. Muscles of the back working hard. Now you're going to slide your feet toward the groin, bring the soles of the feet together. If you want to, you can come right off of your blanket here, but you can stay on it also. It's totally up to you. Draw the heels toward the groin, catch hold of the feet, press the thigh bones down, take a breath in, and then exhale, bow forward over the feet. And with a breath in, come all the way up. Amazingly, that is the end of the class. So an hour flew by. So let's get ready for our Shavasana. You can either come back to legs up the wall, or you can do the traditional laying on your mat, bolster under your knees, blanket maybe just resting over the abdomen today since it's quite warm. But if you want to cover the whole body, you can do that. So figure out where you want to be today and make your way there. On our washcloths today, we have Adaptive Blend. This is a powerful blend for mood enhancement, for mood balancing. It contains wild orange and lavender and spearmint, sweet gum and rosemary. So, wherever you find yourself, do your best now to soften all the edges out, to soften all the little bits of tension, that sweet feeling of stretch in the body after our practice. Let the back of the body release its weight toward the earth. Arms and legs are heavy. The head is heavy. Torso and the pelvis are heavy. Starting to clear the mind of any preoccupying thoughts, any expectations, any anticipation, and just allowing yourself to be in the moment, observing the natural rhythm of your breath. Starting now to bring awareness back to the body, adding some movement in the fingers and in the toes. And then making your way onto your right side to rest. And then making your way to a seated position, closing the eyes once you get there. Let's bring the hands together in front of the heart. Taking a moment here to bow our heads in gratitude for this day and for the many blessings in our life. Thank you for joining me today. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.
Namaste.
Have a wonderful day. No class on Thursday for July 1st, and we'll see you next time.